Hi, my name is Kyle. I've made multiple six figures for my clients. Personally, contracted over $30,000 last month. And in this video, I'm going to basically explain to you why I think the secret to being successful in life, in everything I've done so far based off what I've achieved so far. I think the three biggest things are what I'm about to break down to you here today. Now, to give you a bit of context, I've only found out recently that these are the reasons that I genuinely believe the people that I look up to, that I'm inspired by the most, and I think leave the world in a better place than they found it, follow these three things. And many people have loads of different ideas, loads of different concepts of what they want to call success. But for me, I just consider success as achieving your goals. Because it's important to define the words we're using, so we're clear and we're on the same page. So being successful, to me, it's just achieving your goals. And if we're going from the conventional idea of success, like it might be like monetarily successful, relationship-wise, health-wise, wealth-wise, in all those areas, being stereotypically successful, so as people expect, I think if you follow these three things, you can get there, and then it's only a matter of time until you reach the point where you're amongst the people you look up to. So the first, and I think maybe one of the most important reasons, and that leads you to be successful, is being generous. Now again, how do I define generous? I would define that as giving more than you take. Now the reason I feel like this developed so strongly within me, and it's even a common persuasion tactic, generosity, the law of reciprocity it's called. So if you give someone something, they're more likely to give you something back. So that in alone, by Robert Cialdini, if you read his book on called, I think, Persuasion, will explain to you why that is such a powerful law. Like genuinely, reciprocity is one of the biggest laws in human society as a whole. But it's because when I was younger, I had loads of people around me who did lots of things for me and expected nothing back. Like my nan, my parents, like friends and family, like they all just want to see your day be better. They include you in things and they don't expect anything back, even though sometimes it's at a detriment to them. It makes their life worse, but they're still willing to sacrifice that to make your life better. They're essentially giving more back to you than they're taking from you. And I think when I view it like that, it's like you walk into a room, instead of trying to bring everyone's mood down, you try to add to it, try to uplift it, always adding your energy to it. I find if you go into a sales deal, if you could take more off them, you shouldn't. You should take just enough and leave them with like goodwill. You still want goodwill left on the table. You don't want to fully exploit all the potential. You want to have untapped potential still available, because if you could realistically take more from them, that doesn't mean you should. Just because you can doesn't always mean you should. And I think when you're generous, people will see that you're giving more to them than you are taking, and they'll in turn want to give more to you. So then it becomes this virtuous cycle, right? Where each of you are just giving and giving and giving, and it makes everything so much better. Because if one's just trying to give and take, give and take, give and take, it seems very transactional. It's a very like weak relationship. The foundations it's on aren't stable, and as soon as the other person doesn't provide enough value to the other person, then they'll leave. But if you're giving without expecting anything back, then it doesn't matter how much the other person gives back. You're just giving because you enjoy giving. And this was so like real for me when I was younger, and on Thursday and Friday my parents would be working, so they couldn't look after me, but we'd go to my nan's, my siblings. She'd cook us food for us, spend time with us, take us out in the day when we were like 4 or 5, and it for her it was just a lot of effort, obviously, to keep us entertained, play games with us. We were probably really annoying, but she did it regardless, because she gave more than she ever took from us. And I think seeing her do that, seeing my family do that as well, like on Christmas Day when they give you gifts, what do you get for your parents? It's never equivalent. Seeing all these people do this for me made me realise that the people I look up to and inspired by the most give more than they take. So I think that is one of the first foundational rules to being successful. The second foundational rule to being successful is working hard. Now, when people say they're working hard, There's so many different ways you can view it, because there's pure hours, like you're working 20 hours, but then there's also output. So someone who has a higher output than you could quote unquote be considered working harder. You might determine someone who works more hours is the person who works harder. Personally, I believe working hard is just making sure you've left nothing on the table. Now, that doesn't mean working yourself for 24 hours a day, because that's not the most efficient way, and you'll end up probably making bad decisions near the end of the day. But it's when you go to bed at night and you go to sleep, you know that day you did everything you needed to do. That is it. That's what I consider working hard. And if you know what you need to do to grow and you aren't taking those actions, and you go to sleep and you have that thought in the back of your head like, I could have done more, that's your sign that the next day you need to go harder if you want to be successful and get to the goal that you have in mind. I think some days there might just be like 4 hours of your time. Some days it might be 8, 10. Like for me, on average right now, I think I work about 8 to 10 hours a day. On the weekends, about 4 to 6. So I feel like it's really important to describe what working hard is, because a lot of people have an idea in their head of what it's like, but they never really quantify it. If someone says, oh yeah, you need to work hard, they're like, oh yeah. And then they'll go and do their definition of working hard, which for them could be sitting around thinking, planning, procrastinating. Another one is taking loads of action. Another one is doing a lot of learning, researching, iterating. Someone is just doing loads of hours. For me, it's just knowing that you left nothing out on the table and you took all the actions you could take to grow. So that might be taking bigger risks. That might be working longer hours because you need to get something finished. It might be being intelligent about the actions you're actually working on. It's a very complex and many steps to working hard, because it all depends on what you're working on. But that, in my worldview, I would just say it means that you are proud of what you've put out into the world that day. Because I see working hard as like a daily thing, or that week, or that month, however you want to view it. So, first of all, we have being generous. Second, we have working hard. And the reason why is, again, everyone I look up to works hard. They have goals they're trying to chase, and it's a goal that's even bigger than themselves, which again comes back to that generosity thing, where it's, yeah, they want to be sound in life and make sure they're fine, but the people who completely blow past that actually have an even bigger goal in mind. They want to feed their whole village type of thing. And I don't think you are able to go to atmospheric heights, like super high, unless you have a goal that's genuinely that big. And I think it's genuinely the difference between just staying really small and becoming massive. There's rarely ever people who are in the middle section and stay in the middle. Someone might briefly enter the middle, then come back down, or they go past it. But no one rarely ever actually stays in that middle section just hovering. So you either have to blow past it or accept and just be comfortable with being small, which both are fine, but just know the sacrifices you are making. If you aren't willing to work hard, for example, that's fine. You should be able to accept being small. So that's the sacrifice you have to make. And then the third and final thing I think is one of the most important things to being successful is taking risks. And this is taking the smart risk, not betting all your gambling all on sports bet shit. Taking genuinely smart and calculated risks. And I think, if anything, this might be the most important decision, because you'll see time and time again people who are less competent than you, less intelligent, maybe didn't even work as hard as you, get to a higher point in life. And that's all because they took risks you didn't take. Now, what I count as a risk, again, let's define it, is an outcome that is uncertain. So you don't know, based off this action you're going to take, what's going to occur. You can have a good idea, which makes it calculated, but it's still uncertain. It's not guaranteed. That's what I count as a risk. Now, if you can identify a risk which has low downside but huge upside, that is what tons and tons of successful people are doing every single day. And that's why you see billionaires get richer and richer, millionaires get richer and richer, because they know, worst case scenario, I might just lose a couple pounds or whatever, lose a few dollars, anything, right? Lose a bit of money. But the huge upside could be that I get generational wealth. My whole family is fed for years. And even when I'm trying to get to 100k months, my biggest downside is I still had the skills. So I can still, even if I'm risking like spending on ads or spending on anything to get new clients, right? Acquiring new customers. I have the skills to get these customers. So anything I do and go into now, I have that ability. So you never ever start from zero again. So the downside is never actually that low, which is what I would love people to get into their head. Like a lot of my clients, I'm genuinely just telling them, take more risk, because your relationship with risk will relate to your growth. They're proportionally correlated. Like how much risk you take is the level of your growth. And it doesn't have to be a lot of risk to you. It has to look like a lot of risk to others. For example, if you start posting content and everyone calls you cringe, that might be very risky for someone, but for you, it just seems normal. And so then when you get a great result, you'll think, oh wow, this was easy. But for others, they'll think, wow, you've put a lot of work in, because it was a risk to them. So when you're taking risk, whenever you hear someone say like, oh, no, I could never, that is such a green light to show that you are about to build a moat around yourself, that you can elevate past those people because they are taking actions. They are not taking actions you are willing to take, which means now you build a gap. For example, I used to make like, I think 200 cold calls a day. It took about 4 hours. Those people say, oh no, I couldn't do that. So I knew in my head, wow, I'm building skills, I'm building mental fortitude, like I'm building good work ethic, good work rate that they aren't going to develop. So then whenever we go into the next thing, if we have to 1v1, I'm confident I'm going to win. So I'm developing these skills, I'm getting these attributes of my character. And that's why I think taking risk is one of the most important things. Because if you want to grow and want to grow quickly, risk is one of the most important things you have to get into your mind. And I only started growing more when I started risking more capital. Before, I was risking time, which is where you start out, and I saw a little bit of progress. But as soon as I started putting money behind my actions, it went way quicker. It's funny. So, yeah, taking risk. And it's not like one of them things where you need money to make money. You can definitely start out making money without spending much. Like posting content is completely free. But if you want to move quicker, you need to risk more. And whatever that means to you is whatever that means to you. But I think in general, you have to take actions with uncertain outcomes. As long as you think it's going to be in the direction that you want. And if it doesn't pay off, you go again. You dust yourself off. Cool. That's all from me. So to wrap everything up nicely, I think the secret to being successful in life, and I'm going to continue to live my life by these 3 core reasons, is 1, being generous, giving more than you take. 2, working hard, going to bed at night knowing you left nothing in the tank and you did everything you could to move forward or get closer towards your goal. And 3, take risks, which is take actions and move in a certain way, even when there's outcomes which aren't guaranteed, so they're uncertain. And I think if you do those 3 things day in, day out, and have on top of your mind, you'll get to exactly where you want to go. And then it's only a matter of time. I promise you. All right, stay healthy. Be generous, work hard, and take risks. Bye.